Be doing a 2028 election based off how the whole Iran war can affect that. Now, I know Gavin Newsom is leading in the polls for, Gavin Newsom and Kamala Harris are leading in the polls for most Democratic primary polls, but the reason I decided to go with Ro Khanna is because Ro Khanna and Thomas Massey, I believe, were I'm pretty sure it was mainly Ro Khanna, though, who he was the congressman who brought out the war powers resolution on Iran, which it did fail to pass the House and Senate, but at least he's one of the few that are actually doing something to try to limit Trump's power on the whole Iran situation. Um, and then I decided to make his VP Ruben Gallerio because he's a senator from Arizona who shares a lot of the same progressive ideals as Ro Khanna. And then for the Republicans, I have J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio. Now, you could say Iran could possibly help Marco Rubio in the Republican primary if Iran does turn out being a quote unquote success. Like let's say by tomorrow Iran comes out and it's like, hey, we're done, we capitulate, total surrender. And I don't know, in a dream scenario, that's not going to happen. We put in a friendly U.S. government in Iran. The people of Iran support the new government, and then China is forced to no longer have any proxies in the Middle East, and then Russia starts to, I guess, lose its influence in the Middle East too, and leaves its ally Syria to, just kind of rot in the Middle East. But like that's dream case scenario. What's most likely is gonna happen is we're gonna keep bombing them for 8 weeks. I did see Pete Hestes has most recently said it could take up to 8 weeks now when it was 5 weeks earlier. So let's just say we bomb Iran for 8 weeks, and then after bombing them for 8 weeks, we decide we're done, and like we just leave, and that's that. Iran's bombed to the ground, and Iran just turns into a bunch of fractured governments in Iran, which honestly I could see that happening. But yeah, let's go ahead and look at what this 2028 matchup would look like. We'll go ahead and start off with the safe states for Republicans, which would be Louisiana, Arkansas, Kansas, Oklahoma. Honestly, probably not Nebraska. With how hard because Nebraska and South Dakota were hit with the tariffs, uh, we saw a ton of farmers lose their businesses in Nebraska and the Dakotas, Wyoming a little bit too. Ton of farmers lost like everything, and so I could 100% see Nebraska and Kansas. Probably not that this district is safe though, but the second district may be a little closer. The Dakotas are probably still safe, and then we'll do Idaho, Wyoming, and Utah are all safe too. South Carolina is interesting, because in 2020 Trump only won it by around 12 points, and I could see without Trump being on the ticket it falling to under 9 points. Also, Senator Lindsey Graham has been he's been trying to put out his image a lot more. Honestly, is he too old to run for president in 2028? How do you spell his name? Lindsey. Here he goes. Yeah, he's going to be too old. Or honestly, maybe he's the perfect age, y'all tell me. But I've been seeing him in the news a lot more lately, but I think he's really just. I think what's actually happening with Lindsey Graham is he wants to have a cabinet spot when he's done with the Senate in hopes a Republican wins in 28. Indiana is definitely an interesting one. Um, I could see Indiana possibly going down to like a 12-point margin, but it's honestly still going to stay safe. And then Alaska, too, will probably stay safe. Texas won't be safe. Montana is definitely interesting because Trump has done very good in Montana. He's winning by 20 points. In 2012, Romney won it by 13 points, and McCain almost lost it in 2008. But we go to Senate races, we see in 2024, a Republican senator only won it by 7 points, 10 points in 2020. And then we even had a Democrat senator win it in 2018. So I could definitely see Montana being like a surprise closer state in the 2028 election, especially if this whole Iran thing is a complete disaster. We're also seeing in February, the U.S. economy lost 20, I believe, yeah, 92,000 jobs in the job market, which will definitely affect more rural areas like Montana. So honestly, I don't know if Montana's actually safe. Missouri, Missouri's probably safe. And then if we let's go to tracking the presidency so that we can get Trump's approval rating up here, which right now they have his approval rating at negative 19, and compared to his first term, that's 8 points worse than his first term. So I think the 2028 election is going to be a bigger electoral blowout than 2020 was. Especially we have a younger candidate for the Democrat Party like Ro Khanna. Yeah. We'll now go to safe states for Democrats, which will be Oregon, Washington, California, Colorado, New Mexico, Hawaii, New York, Delaware, Maryland, D.C., all of these New England states. Uh, Virginia's going to be safe because we saw in 2025 the Virginia's governor's elections where Democrats won by a very large margin. Same with New Jersey. We can expect that to be safe. Minnesota will definitely be safe. Minnesota's definitely going towards the left, especially with recent events that have happened in the state of Minnesota. Of course, with the tragic, tragic deaths of two American citizens in Minnesota by ICE. So I definitely do think that will cause Minnesota to move to the left and move into that safe margin, like we saw. Um, I would be surprised if Minnesota, yes, goes to whoever only by 7 points, like we saw in 2020, or by 4 points, as we saw in 24. I do think Minnesota will move drastically to the left. New Hampshire will probably not be safe. It will probably just be a likely. Yeah. Okay, well, let's move on to our likely states now, which I do expect to be South Carolina, Montana, this district of Nebraska, all of these states within like a 9 point margin. Iowa will definitely be closer. They don't have the best Republican governor in Iowa. They also have a retiring incumbent senator who isn't the most popular governor in Iowa or most popular senator. So Iowa, I could definitely see moving more to the left by 2028. Maybe a 5 point margin, but I'm gonna have to say around a 7 point margin. We'll now go to in this district of Maine. Democrats, I expect to take this district of Nebraska by around 7 points. I do also expect Democrats to take New Hampshire by around 9 points. And now we're on to the Florida. I don't think Democrats plan to do really anything with Florida. I think they know Florida is lost for a good amount of the future. Um, yeah, Florida. I don't think Democrats will try campaign in Florida too much. Maybe for a couple House races, but that's it. I do expect Texas to be a lot closer within that 4 to 5 point range, as we have been seeing with early voting in Texas. Democrats are doing pretty good in Texas right now based off polling. And we could possibly see James Tallarico win Texas in 2026. That race will give us a very good insight on what Texas political climate will be looking like by 2028. But I definitely do think Texas is shifting a lot to the left and more than most people think. And I also have Ohio going to J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio by around that 5 point margin, like 4.5, 5 point margin. And now we're going to get into our closer states. which I do expect. We can go ahead and say Arizona will be going to the Dems, especially with immigration polling on Trump being so low. And 1/3 of Arizona, I believe, is Hispanic voters. So, and Trump is polling awful with Hispanic voters, so that will definitely help the Democrats take Arizona. And with Ruben Gallerio on the ticket in this scenario, senator from Arizona who was able to win his Senate race in Arizona in 2024, I do expect him to be able to help increase margins in Arizona. We're also seeing John Ossoff do very good in Georgia. Democrats are doing pretty good in Georgia. And honestly, I do expect a Democrat governor to win in Georgia if there is a strong candidate in 2026, with Brian Kemp being term limited. Without Brian Kemp being in the Senate race, Democrats will probably take Georgia in 2026. With John Ossoff polling very good. He has a ton of cash on hand in Georgia, which I do think will lead to Democrats being able to take Georgia by a slimmer margin in 2028. And if Arizona goes blue, we can go ahead and expect Nevada to also go blue. We are seeing Roy Cooper polling very well in North Carolina, but I don't think I can quite give North Carolina to the Democrats yet, because the majority of registered voters in North Carolina are still Republican, so besides independents, I believe. Or maybe I'm wrong about that. But I do still expect North Carolina to stay in the Republicans' hands. Wisconsin in 2024 was the closest state to swing state to voting for Kamala Harris. It was the tightest race in 2024. It was also, I believe, it wasn't the tightest race in 2020, but I do expect Wisconsin to be going to the Democrats in this scenario. Now here, with manufacturing jobs, basically the manufacturing jobs, I believe, declined 9 months in a row in Trump's first year in office. I believe that stabilized a little bit, but also in February we saw 92,000 jobs lost. I am predicting I don't think manufacturing jobs are going to go back up at all within the next 3 years, and I do expect that to help the Democrats be able to improve their numbers in Michigan and also be able to take Michigan in 2028. And it's been, I believe, since 1988, since these three states have voted a different way than each other. I do expect Pennsylvania to also go to the Democrats by a slim margin, especially in Michigan and Pennsylvania. Especially in Pennsylvania, we're seeing Josh Shapiro polling very well to take a second term in 2026. I do expect him to win in 2026. I do expect that to lay the groundwork for Democrats to win Pennsylvania in 2028. So this is how I think the Iran war will affect the 2028 election. Also, with how the job market's looking, it's looking like the job market will continue to get more and more shaky over the next few months, which will definitely hurt Trump and Republicans in 2026. Anyway, thank you all for watching, and peace out.